Hello and welcome to NL Playoffs. My name is Gautam. I have with me my co-host Aniket. Aniket, say namaste.
Hello world.
Aniket, how's it going? We've had it's been at least a couple of weeks since we last spoke with each other. How has your sports watching experience been?
It's been fantastic with everything that's happening in the world of sport. It never disappoints, so it keeps moving. But what I'm super stoked about is our upcoming interview or exclusive with Gautam. Do you want to tell us who it is with?
Okay, so when first of all, thanks to producer Lippy who's producing this podcast for getting us this person to come on for an interview. It was a dream come true. We got the wonderful opportunity to talk to Bhaichung Bhutia, the one and only footballer that I knew growing up from India, partly due to my ignorance, but partly also due to how good he was. Right, he was the star when I was growing up, obviously in the 90s. So it was a dream come true of sorts to talk to him and pick his brain about so many things.
Absolutely. And when you say that, like, I've seen posters of him on walls. I've seen posters of him in the ESPN, the magazines that we used to get. Never did I, yeah, exactly. And never did I, even in my wildest dreams, think that we'd be sharing a Zoom screen. So it was fantastic, and I'm super excited to talk more about this.
And the great thing about that was initially he had about 20 minutes to spare, and then slowly it became 30, and then we eventually got him to about 40-45 minutes. So it was just a great experience talking to him about his career, his playing style, how he transitioned from playing in India to moving to Europe, and how adjusting to the life there. He's also spoke about the state of Indian football right now and how they need to have a winning mentality. Or did I miss anything else, Aniket?
So he did also talk about the sporting ecosystem in general, right? About how we should focus on building grounds rather than stadiums, and it was a fantastic conversation with someone who's been on the field and then off the field has been actively involved in nurturing upcoming talent. He's also worked with the founded the Players Football Association for India, I think. So he's been there, done that. I think a true icon of our times who's been contributing to the nourishment of Indian sport in general. So it was, I think, having him as a guest was everything we thought about when we started NL playoffs, right? Someone who could talk about the sporting ecosystem overall. So it was a wonderful opportunity for me personally. I don't want to talk for you, but I was super, super excited.
And not to forget, he also talks about his various political stands that he takes, and whether it's important for players today who have a voice to stand up to what they believe or not. So it was quite an insightful and enlightening conversation with him. It kind of truly, in a pleasant way, surprised me how humble he was. So it was a great chat. We hope that all of the folks who are watching and listening to this conversation also feel the same way. But before we get to the interview, Aniket, I think we should definitely plug Newslaundry. So please go to newslaundry.com, hit that subscribe button. If you go to the website right now, you can find so many things. We have ground reports, we have articles, we have podcasts. I don't know how many podcasts Newslaundry has, but it has a lot. But so we have a lot of stuff going on the on our website. So just go there, subscribe. It's you can subscribe for as cheap as 300 rupees a month. So go definitely check it out and definitely hit the subscribe button if you haven't already yet.
So, what is a subscription? A subscription is a ticket to your participation in democracy. So, go for it. Keep democracy thriving. Subscribe to independent media because if the advertisers pay, the advertisers served. If the subscribers are paid, the subscribers served. Is that what it is? Advertiser.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're always confused with those punchlines or bylines. I don't know why, but that's okay.
Yeah, I didn't want to get the main thing wrong. That's horrible.
When advertisers are paid, advertisers are served. When subscriptions are paid, when the public pays, the public is served. So there you go.
public. I knew something was off when I said subscribers. So, all right.
But anyway, having said that, guys, here's Bhaichung Bhutia. Hello and welcome to NL Playoffs. We have the extreme honor of having one of India's greatest sports person, Bhaichung Bhutia. Bhaichung, thank you so much. But before you get on, I'll let Aniket introduce you first for maybe a handful of people who might not know you, for the Gen Zs, I guess.
So I would say I think you're known to everyone, but just to set the record straight, our guest today is a torchbearer of Indian football at international arena. He was scouted by the Sports Authority of India at the age 11. His professional career spans playing for the team India, scoring the first goal at age 18 and also captaining the team later in his career. He's played for some of the biggest Indian football clubs out there like East Bengal and Mohun Bagan. He's also played in Europe for Bury FC, which we will talk about. And then his accolades also include being the winner of the Arjuna Award, the Padma Shri. He's also referred to as a Sikkim sniper, and his farewell match, for those who are still guessing, for India was against Bayern Munich. So, Bhaichung Bhutia, it's such an honor and pleasure to have you. Thank you for taking the time to come to NL Playoffs. So, before we start, I just thought I'll give you like a 30-second idea of why NL Playoff exists. So, we're a bunch of sports enthusiasts, and this is a platform to start to talk about the sporting ecosystem in India. So, a lot of times athletes are interviewed and sporting personalities are interviewed, but we thought this is a good platform to talk about folks who've been at the back end, the front end, and as a player. So, right now, you seem to be the ideal guest given our mission because you've been in all three fronts as a player. Now you're running your academy and you also coach and basically started the Football Players Association in India. So thank you so much for coming over and you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
So before we start, I had like a quick question for you. So you've been playing for India and now you've take on a new challenge. So, given the footballing ecosystem and sporting ecosystem in India, one of the questions that always come up is that we need, for example, in the context of football, is we need to qualify for the World Cup, and I'm talking for myself here. My opinion is I think our players and our Indian population is very capable, but from the public's perspective, what do you think must change? Because I believe to make this sporting dream of India come alive, we as public and this have to step up and take some actions. From your perspective, what would that be?
I think to start off with, we as Indians should be more sporting as a nation, and every citizen in India should start watching, if not playing, at least watch sports, and especially football. At least start with watching. It's easy. You keep hearing a lot of people saying there's that about Indian football. Why you not qualifying? Why we're bad? But start at least watching it, and also slowly encourage your kids and your other, nephews and anybody around to start playing football. More number of kids we play, the more number of talent we're going to scout. I think right now is, that's where BVFS, Bhaichung Bhutia Football School, was to make sure that we encourage a lot of kids to come and play football, give them good quality training. And at the same time, if there are talented players there, we give them a platform to go on to play for India in big clubs in ISL and I leagues. So that was our main thing. But to start as an Indian, we need to start being more sporty, encourage kids to play sports, especially football, and start supporting and watching different sports, and especially start supporting football.
For sure. 7 years ago, I think, Bhaichung, you had a TED talk that I was listening to again, where you speak about Messi and how he, at the age of 11, how he was picked up from Argentina and he was sent to La Masia along with his parents because he was still young. Now, 7 years after that, now we're in 2022. Do you see infrastructure-wise, support-wise, I know scouting-wise, I'm sure we've improved, but from like a support-wise in terms of encouraging their children from the parents, support systems, the academies and so on, is that changing for the better?
Definitely, it's much better. We have more number of kids playing football right now. We've got a lot of different academies all across India, which is a great sign. Uh, I think infrastructure-wise, it's definitely better, but we need to do much more. And since I'm also with the Government of India Sports Ministry, I'm as an advisor to Sports Authority of India and Mission Olympic. And what I've been always vocal about it is let's not construct huge stadiums right now. Let us just make football grounds. Let's make playing grounds for kids and sports people to access and get to play. And that is, I think, where we need where kids can just go and play any sports, especially football. Until and unless we don't do that, then it becomes very, very difficult. So let's invest, especially on small things like grounds, give opportunity and platform for a lot of players to come and play, have coaches, education, train a lot of coaches to train and give quality footballers. So I think that's where we need to focus.
So, just a follow up question along these threads, right? So, another challenge which you again has publicly spoken about is how, as a kid, especially during your, I think, 10th class exam, if I remember correctly, you had to make a choice, right? So, you had to pick either sport or education. And clearly, you've made the right choice in hindsight. And it can be very stressful and it can be a big decision for many people who are interested. So how can we make things better, and what advice would you give future athletes who aspire to do this again like you did? How can they do it differently, and what gave you the confidence to make these steps in your life?
See, when I was supposed to sit for my ICSE exam, class 10 standard, which was in 3 months away, I got a call from under 16 India football team, which was also the selection trials for the national team. And I was not even selected. I was just called for trials for the Indian national team under 16. Now, when you get those kind of calls for under 16 India, I think it's very easy for a footballer who's very passionate to take that call. And I think everybody should take that call. If you are a 16-year-old boy and you've got a call for under 16 India and you're supposed to sit for an exam, ICSE or CBSE, I think if you're passionate and love for the game football, you should choose football and go for it. You know, and that's what I did. And it's not very difficult. It wasn't a very difficult decision for me. Obviously, my parents were not too happy, but I wanted to play for India. Football was something which I really loved, and I chose to do that. So, but if you're trying to get into school team and school team is supposed to travel and you have ICSE, then don't do that. Don't drop your class 10. And I think if you're talented, you have the talent, and you're getting ISL, I League clubs. I think that is where you need to decide. But after 15, 16 years, you need to know as well where you stand. You should not stop playing though, but to make a career, I think you need to decide at the age of 15, 16, what level of football are you playing. So then that's where you need to decide.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think you have to be realistic as to what your goals are. If you're actually good to be picked up for India under 16s or for a professional football team, by all means. But I think you can't sacrifice one for the other if it's you can't be blind about what decisions you make. I totally agree with you there, Bhaichung. Now, growing up, both me and Aniket were 90s kids. So if there was any Indian footballer we knew, it was only you. There's nobody else we knew about. Just everybody, everywhere you look at the papers or television or anything like that, first player to go to Europe, train trials with the Premier League teams and so on. So even before that, when you became the youngest to score for India too, Bhaichung. So, but even before that, you made the transition from a midfielder to a striker, right? I know you said if you had they given you an opportunity to goalkeep, you'd have probably done that as well because India was calling. So how was that transition for you playing style wise? Because you started off as a midfielder. I'm assuming you were an attacking mid, but then the coach asked you to transition towards being a striker. So how did that change your playing style, or how did you adapt to that new position?
See, I think I was inspired by Maradona. I'm sure a lot of my generation players were inspired. And Maradona, 86 was the first time I watched him play. And that influenced so much in my life is my style of play. And Maradona was a player that could create opportunities for others to score. And 86, we saw that. Obviously, he scored one of the best goals in the world till today. But apart from that, he used to create, and that's what I really enjoyed playing, creating chances, giving those great passes, dribbling past defender, and making opportunities. But I think I was a natural attacking midfield, if not out and out striker. But those days, I think we were not aware of formation. I don't think the world football was also aware. That's you're talking of 80s. I think Brazil dominated world football was through 4-4-2 formation. And if you look at the history of World Cups, I think a lot of teams that's won maximum number of World Cups, I think would have gone to 4-4-2 formation or 4-2-4 formation. So we had Rustam Agramov, who had come in as a foreign coach for Indian football team after winning Asian Games for Uzbekistan, and he saw me play in Santosh Trophy. I was just coming in second half, having 30 minutes, 25 minutes of game in the second half, and I came in as a midfield. But I was more of an attacking player, and then I scored that important goal in the final in Santosh Trophy against Punjab when Bengal played against Punjab and scored that golden goal, which was those days we had a golden goal rule. Extra time, whichever team scored the goal won the tournament. And I scored that important goal. And that's where Rustam Agramov called me and said, I want you to play as a striker, not as a midfield. And my journey from midfield then became a striker. So Indian team, I never played midfield for the Indian team. I always started as a striker in Indian national team. But before that, for the clubs, I was playing more as attacking midfield.
Did playing striker naturally come to you?
I think it did come quite naturally because I always liked going forward. I always wanted to attack, dribble past players, make those runs from behind, play 1-2. So that was very, very natural as a player. But I also enjoyed defending. I liked tackles. I really enjoyed doing sliding tackles when I was a kid. We had those muddy grounds everywhere across Sikkim, and when we were kids, we obviously did not have any single grass ground. So it was all muddy, slushy, and that area, playing those paddy fields. And during monsoon time, to slide is the best kind of experience you'll get that as a kid, as a footballer. So that sliding tackles, scoring goals, in that mud slippery grounds, sliding around was something which was fun, and that's how I think I enjoyed doing a lot of defending as well, and you can see that in my game quite a bit.
So I had one interesting question that always I wondered about. So you went about captaining the Indian football team, which I think is one of the biggest responsibilities you can take, given the size of the population we are, and we are, I strongly believe we are also passionate fans. Given that, what is your take on transitioning from a player to a captain? Because there is a lot of leadership involved, and I used to believe that leaders are natural, but I'm slowly, as time goes, I'm getting to learn that you can also learn leadership. So what would you call your leadership philosophy, and how was your experience? If you could tell us a little bit about captaining the Indian side.
See, I think when you captain and when you become leader of a team, I think that trust and respect is something you need to have as a player. And I was quite fortunate because I captained India in 1999 when I was playing in England. When the team came to England for a tour, I think from then on I captained my first match as a captain in England. So when I was playing that, the respect from the Indian football, the players in India were playing in different leagues. I was the only one playing abroad. So that respect was there as a player. And obviously the trust as well, because I was the only player playing abroad. So the trust and respect was quite a lot from a lot of footballers. Obviously, a lot of them were all my colleagues, my friends, but there were a few junior players, some were seniors as well. So that trust and respect was something which, because of me playing abroad, I got that. And when you get that, I think it's important that you need to make sure that you utilize that trust and respect uh, in a way that you give them back the respect as well. At the same time, you also make sure that what you're speaking, what you're telling them, you make sense about what you're speaking, what you're telling them. So that when players speak to you in terms of anything, in terms of a football, a match, when you're talking to them, I think you need to make sense what you're speaking. You need to know what you're speaking. and that's where players tend to learn from you, and they feel that, wow, that's something I've learned. So that is where I think you need to get the respect and trust, which I think was the most important thing for any leaders today. If you want to be a good leader in sports or corporates or anywhere or politically, if you need to, first thing is get the trust and respect, and that is going to come only by things you do, and by things what you speak, and things by by people seeing you, watching you on and off the field. So and you need to be with them. So that is where I think I was a bit lucky that way to start, captaining India.
Yeah, because that reminds me of an anecdote. I think Sunil Chetri was on record saying that when he was a young upcoming player, he used to come to you and say, "I want to take a penalty," and he mentioned that you would always show trust and faith in him, and let him step up and take. Which I must tell you is taking a penalty in those any of these situations can just be crazy. So yeah, it just talks a lot about you as a leader. And how did you catch this from your seniors, or was it something you learned by from your experience abroad? Could you tell us a few things about that?
No, I think it was more natural also because I've been a boarding school boy from day one. So you spend all your time with friends, and that's how you tend to know. And Sunil, when he came in, he was a young boy, and sometimes a lot of young players have different kind of thinking when they see senior star players. Some people get nervous, some people feel excited. So for a senior players, it was important to make them comfortable, and whenever they played or trained with you, it's important that you encourage, because you could really destroy or make their career if they do something stupid or they miss a chance. You could just be so negative and destroy it. But it was important for me to encourage just not Sunil, but a lot of other young players. Asim Biswas, there were other few players who were there along with him, to encourage and motivate that whatever mistakes have been made, it's part of the learning process, and it'll happen. If you miss a chance, don't feel sad about it, because that's where you're going to get another chance, so that you don't make that mistake. So it's important to motivate, keep them positive, and also share good bonding relationships, so that any difficulties they have off the ground, they can come and speak. Because India is a different, it's a nation, it's a huge nation, different culture, different lifestyle, and people have different issues of their own, and they need, and especially when I was young, it was challenging, because you didn't have that kind of, senior players were really, really good, but they didn't have that knowledge and exposure themselves. So when I was a senior, I think it was easy to deal with them. And Sunil, obviously, I used to take him quite a lot. Him, not just him, but few other junior players, to where I stayed with senior players like Renedy, Susamata Saija. I took a lot of the young players to where we stayed. We played a lot of indoor games together. We played indoor cricket. We played football, futsal, volleyball, different. That bonded everybody, and made them feel comfortable, and made them feel. I think they could adjust to just not football, but also the cultural environment in Calcutta.
Thankfully, you mentioned cricket first and not me. I made it a point not to talk about cricket at all, Bhaichung. When you set up your Bhaichung Bhutia schools and academies, you partnered closely with Carlos Queiroz. Now, most of the people probably don't know who Carlos Queiroz is, but I know because I was a Manchester United fan growing up. So he was always this guy who was at the back of Alex Ferguson, just in the background, being the assistant coach, and then went on to coach obviously for big clubs, and he's now an international coach. So how important was it for you to have him on, or have him as a partner when you were setting up the schools initially, in terms of planning, in terms of getting a proper sporting curriculum in place?
No, so we used to have long camps in Portugal, in Lisbon. So we were preparing for the Asia Cup, and we every summer, I think the Indian national team went twice a month long camp. And also I was in my towards the declining, not decline, towards the end of my career, and I knew that I'm going to play Asia Cup, which is going to be my last tournament in 2010, and I knew that. So I was planning to do something for the game, sports, to give it back. and the football center schools was something which I thought. And I did get support and help from people like Nuno, who was the organizer for Indian national team in Portugal, and Carlos Corres obviously was a great name, wonderful coach, experience working with Alex Ferguson, Man United, went on to Real Madrid, and he had football schools in Portugal, and I requested the local authorities to take me and show me around how football has been worked, what does the football school do, and that's how we got in touch with Carlos Corres and his team, and then we did a joint partnership to start BVFS, Bhaichung Bhutia Football Schools, with Carlos Corres in India.
So this is super interesting. So since you are also in the coaching domain, so one of the things we do notice is that in Indian sport in general, there is a extremely high drop off. So a lot of people actually start playing, but it has been found that over time, people start dropping off, and it's due to various facets, facilities that we provide for athletes and stuff like that. So in your mind, since you're coaching, what is the one thing that's important? For example, like the education system has this midday meals where they try to get as many students to come learn by providing meals. What can we do in sport, or in your head, what do you try to do so that you can get as many people to participate in sport in general?
So now that's where Bhaichung Bhutia Football Schools, we also changed into residential academy. And a lot of times we saw that kids wanted to play, but parents want them to study. So we came out with a formula of residential football academy with academics, and where kids can come and become professional footballers, and parents don't mind that, during the daytime they go into a proper school for education as well. So this is a concept and model which we started, and I think right now a lot of kids and parents are happy that parents, at least they know that the kids are not missing their classes and doing their academics, and kids are completely focused morning, evening, to play football, and also at the same time get high quality training. So this is what we've started with the residential academy, and hopefully I think this is a model which we would want to carry it beyond school into college as well, so that even college students want to make still a career in football, which they can also have a residential football college academy.
uh, uh, Fitness is becoming one of the primary focuses now in modern football. I was just wondering if I was just talking to Aniket the other day. We are looking at the modern game right now, where players are extremely fit, especially the wing backs. They just go forward all the time, always running back and forth, back and forth. Fitness is becoming such a priority these days. Does it have to do with the new style of European football? Let's say Jurgen Klopp does gegenpressing, which is this heavy possession after when you lose possession. We have tiki taka, obviously, which is centered around people running in triangles and so on. So how important is fitness these days, and how in India are people dealing with it, sporting wise?
See, I think fitness is one of the most important factor in football. It is not everything, but it is definitely one of the most important factor in football. And the fitter you are, the better the team you become, obviously apart from other things as well. So yes, with modern football, I think now you see players, I think, doing 13 to 15K after 90 minutes, or even more as well. Some of the players do even more. So I think it's a key factor. Apart from fitness, it's also speed. I think these days, the speed is become one of the major factor for all the great teams. If they have speed, I think the team tends to become very strong. With speed in the sense the speed of players, individual players. So that is also looked into it. But yeah, I think with modern day football, you see 11 players defending, 11 players going up front. You sometimes see, a striker coming way deep into your own half and defending there. You have side backs going, making those crosses, even scoring goals as well. So yes, fitness is become very important.
So on a tangential note, so you're also in I can't not ask this question, because you're also in politics, right? And in politics, sports is rarely spoken about, and I think I understand why, because India as a country has many other problems. It's difficult to think about And I think you mentioned this best when you're saying you want to, in today's world, you're building toilets. It becomes very difficult to think about building stadiums or other infrastructure because we are still fighting for basic necessities. But uh, what can we expect from politicians? When can we expect, sport being spoken about seriously? Because there is scope in terms of employment. You can generate huge amount of employment just because of the infrastructure. It's not the players, but as you know, there's a whole team and there's a back end involved. So how do we start this conversation politically? Because I think that's an important direction if we, in my head at least, if India has to become a sporting nation as we dream it to be.
No, I think in India, politicians are also looked up to it, and people obviously listen to a lot of politicians from their own village level to state level to the national country level. I think there's politicians, if they can't do anything as well, just speak about it, encourage kids to play sports. And when they speak, I think people listen to them because they obviously rely. We still rely a lot on politicians for anything from welfare schemes to getting your jobs down to a lot of things. So I think politicians are very, very important part in India because what they speak is people tend to listen. So at least, if not anything else, just speak about sports, encourage kids to go and play sports, and if they have little fund, organize a lot of tournaments, events, for different age group, different kids to play different sport tournaments. I think that is the way you start. And obviously, apart from that, you can have right policies for sports, from your education to schooling to your village level, your constituency level. You can, if not build stadiums, or build many grounds, you can also start a lot of competitions which does not need a lot of funds, but make sure that there is plenty of sports teachers, PT teachers, just not going to school and teaching, but also organizing matches every week for kids to play different matches, badminton, cricket, football, so that every week some kids are engaged through sports activities through that. And it's not a huge cost to have that.
Just speaking about sports and politics, you in 2008 famously declined to participate in the torch relay, supporting the Tibetan movement. Now, you spoke about that time. Now, these days, you don't often see athletes speaking up about causes that they truly believe in. They just tend to be silent for whatever reason. It's their thing. But do you think more athletes should speak up, or do you think it's just a product of circumstances that they do not speak up? Do you see that declining, or do you think there is just a bit of a lack of awareness among the sports athletes today? I'm talking about big stars.
No, I think it's completely individual choice to speak out or not to speak out. It depends on the issue which is closer to them. Obviously, Tibetan movement, China, the Olympic tours was very close to my heart because I follow His Holiness the Dalai Lama very closely, and we have a lot of Tibetans settlements to refugees, and even a lot of, even my own families are married to a lot of Tibetans because there's a huge refugee settlement in Sikkim and other parts of the country. So I obviously support His Holiness the Dalai Lama and his cause. So that was very close to my heart, and I thought that it was not right to carry Olympic torch, which was Olympic was hosted by China that year because of the kind of atrocity that a lot of the monks and the Tibetan people were facing there. So it was something close to my heart, and it is very personal. I don't expect other footballers to come and support me and other sports people to come and support me. So it's down to individual sports person to really take it. And every sports person would have different issues which they relate to it. And if there's something on that, if they want to speak out, I think they should speak out. People will try and say politics and sports should not go on, but that I think people will keep saying it. But if you believe in something, I think you should come out and just show it and show the support.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a myth that a lot of people say, sports and politics should not mix. Where if you see all of the administrations and the administrators, there's always politicians involved. And then at the backdrop of the India and Pakistan semi-final in 2011, there were India-Pakistan prime ministers and leaders speaking as part of their diplomatic process. So I think it's a bit foolish for people to say, oh no, sports and politics should not mix, or you just play sports and don't talk up. I think it's a bit of a misnomer.
So I don't know. I mean, I've not heard. So do you follow? Do you have a favorite club? What is which is the club that you rooted for growing up? Who was your players? If you could, players that you looked up to. You mentioned Maradona, but then who are your idols when you grew up? And what was the football you used to watch back in the day before you started playing?
No, I think you keep changing, players because every time World Cup, European Cup, or a Premier League, there are new stars coming out. Obviously, I started following Arsenal because of Dennis Bergkamp, that era of footballers in Arsenal. And that's how I became a fan of Arsenal. But I'm not a die-hard. A lot of fans are die-hard and they don't eat if the team loses. I'm not that kind. I do follow and I like Arsenal, but it's not. I'm not a die-hard kind of a situation who goes into depression if they don't win. So yes, and that's how. And over the years, generations, I think players have changed. I started with Maradona, then came in a lot of players. I became a huge Roberto Baggio fan when Italy won it, and I also lost in the finals. So I became a fan of him. Then came Brazilian Ronaldo. I think I've never seen anyone better than him. One of my greatest idol. Then came in Romario. I think that generation, Romario Babeto combination was something which I followed and everybody followed. Before Romario and before Brazilian Ronaldo, it was Romario and Babeto. So then Zidane came in again. He was one great player. So that's how now I like Messi right now, and obviously Cristiano Ronaldo has been also a fantastic player. But it's great to watch Messi.
How was it playing with Zidane? I know you played with. He's one of my all-time favorite players, Zidane. I know you played with him in an exhibition match. I think you scored in that game too. How was it
Yeah.
rubbing shoulders with the great Zidane? There was Kaka. I'm sure there are other great international players also. How was it rubbing shoulders with them?
I think it's great for a footballer. You'd want to be every day in a dressing room with those kind of players. But for me, it was only for an exhibition match. And when you're in the same dressing room, they're changing. You're there sitting with them. Kaka on the left, Zidane on the right, Bartes. You really feel that where are you actually? And this is where I want to be. But the reality kicks in because that was just a friendly one-off thing, and you go back. But all the footballers across the world would be wanting to share dressing room and being there training with them every day. And that's the aim I think all footballers in India should have. But I think it was a great experience. It was just one exhibition match and one match where I got to share the dressing room and go onto the field and play with them. So I think that's always going to be a great memory.
Yeah, I'll let Aniket ask the next question. But just Zidane, I don't know how he was so skillful. He had no pace, if you think about it. But when he had the ball, he almost felt like he had so much space. He had the whole vision in front of him. Those passes, those dribbling skills. I mean, my God.
So just to pull off this thread of sharing a dressing room, so could you talk to us about your time at Bury FC? Because you were one of the first Indians to go play abroad. How was the experience leaving home? I'm sure it's a little unsettling initially. What are the challenges that you faced and that players who want to go abroad now would typically face? So if you could talk to us a little bit about that.
No, the experience wasn't too exciting because obviously, you know, it did not really fit into the style which I played and the team played. And it all started quite badly because I was doing quite well with West Bromwich Albion. I was supposed to sign a contract with them. And pre-season, after having a great successful trial, they just sacked their manager in pre-season. So I couldn't sign with West Brom. And then I moved on to Bury and then signed with them. So yeah, I think everything because when you go lower division, I think the football in England becomes more tougher because more direct, more physical contact, and which was I don't think was my kind of thing. And after 3 months of being in Bury, playing there, settling down, the manager who signs me left Bury and went on to Sheffield United, Neil Warnock, with his assistant manager. That became more difficult because managers play a very important role, and you sign the club because of coach because he trusts you, you have a trust in you, he knows your style and he knows where to fit in and he signs players. But when you have that manager leaving, then things becomes very difficult because I anyway was late. I joined them in mid season which I was doing a catch up, So things went quite difficult to start off with. But again, at the end of the year, my third year, which was supposed to be a good year, I had a great preseason, played a wonderful match against Manchester United, started the matches, all the matches in the final year. And third, fourth match of the season, I had a big knee injury, which kept me out for 6, 7 months. And that's how my England stint for 3 years got over that way. So, which was a bit unfortunate, but sometimes it is life's like that. We've got to take it.
But I think, Bhaichung, you come across as somebody who's very satisfied with what you've done in your career. I'm sure if luck was on your side a little bit, injuries and all of that, you would have probably achieved even more in Europe than before. But you come across as somebody who is more or less content with his playing career. Do you agree with that statement?
I think I'm happy. If I'm not happy, also, what else can I do? So you need to accept things in life. That is very, very important. And what is not happened is not happened. Obviously, you learn from that. But I'm very happy that I had a trial with Fulham. I had I played a match for them for a trials. I scored. I had a trials with Aston Villa. They told me to play a match. I scored in that as well. So at least on all the trials, I scored a game. Maybe I didn't get a contract, but I did score goals in those trial matches, and those were quite a good standard match which we played. But apart from that, I think I'm very happy, and obviously one has to accept the reality. And if 35, when I felt that I can't carry on, and I knew that after Asia Cup I would retire, and then that's what I did after Asia Cup. After 2, 3 months, I retired. So I think you need to accept the reality, and and sometimes in life, that enough is enough, and you need to take a call, and that's where you need to decide. You keep trying for a lot of things, it does not happen. Somewhere down the line, you should say, "I've had it enough. This is it," and go on and move on with different things. So that is something which personally I think any individual should take it, and I do take that. When I felt that I had enough of football and that is it, I wanted to move on with different things. I took the call. So I'm happy, and no regrets.
Yeah, in a way, as you always say, I think your contribution after you retired has been even more than when you played, because a lot of people are benefiting from it. Just 10 years, how do you look at Indian football team right now? 10 years down the line, how do you see them? How do you see their progress? Are you seeing improvements? I know you spoke about infrastructure and so on, but the Indian national team as such, how do you see it progressing in the next 10 years?
No, I definitely see quite a lot of improvement in the national team. At least, the team is playing as a team, because our days it was more of few individual players playing it, and then the rest of them sometimes lagging it. The entire team wasn't there. So now at least you've got a set of team playing as a team. Obviously, they have not been lucky in getting results. I think it's important to start getting results, and they've gone quite close to getting results. But I definitely see that there is a huge improvement mentality-wise, the approach-wise, the body language, and the confidence. That there you can see in this bunch of players. But it's important that they need to also get that killer instinct, and that instinct of not losing it, winning it. That you have that. Similar to what Rafael Nadal is, I think the aggression. You need to have that aggression to just go there and just go to win. Obviously, you don't win all the time, but at least you need to have that aggression to do that. And I think that's where a lot of the players will have to build that in the current national team. Otherwise, I think football definitely is improved quite a lot. They're playing quite good football. Just been unlucky, and they need to get that aggression and the killer instinct in them to finish and get 3 points.
So one thing that you mentioned is mentality or the mental aspect of sport, and it clearly stands out even from your experience in England that as an athlete times can be really challenging, and typically there are three things you can work on, right? One is your, like you already mentioned, the physicality, your physique. The other part is your skill set, but the less spoken of is the mental aspect of sport, which you briefly touched upon. So how did you approach this as in your career? Because like you said, you need a lot of mental fortitude to make these moves that you've done. And was it something that came along as you grew? I'm sure experience has a part to play, but did you ever do anything intentionally to build that aspect of your life?
No, I think it is quite a difficult thing because sometimes you're playing a better team, tougher team, and then you tend to have little nervousness, and that's where I think uh, the players should try and stay positive, try and think of your strength, and at the end, when you're playing a stronger, better team, and you're playing them, it's only thing you need to think is 90 minutes. You go out there and give your best. I think that effort of giving 100%, giving everything what you have, that mentality should come in when you're especially playing with a better side and a team that is getting a little nervous, before a day before the game. Apart from that, I think you need to always try and think the positive side of your things, of your team combination working, what are the strength, and I think focus on that more before the matches, rather than thinking how strong the other team is, how weak we are, the negative side of it. At the end, I think it's 90 minutes. You start 0-0, and on the field, how much effort you put in, what you're going to give, is things that will change the score line. So try and give everything best. Apart from that, you can't. You can't control. You sometimes end up losing. So, but at least when you come out of that 90 minutes, you should feel that you give everything on the field.
100%. I think, Bhaichung, we can keep going and going and going. Me and Aniket have so many questions left, but I know you are limited for time. So, just like to thank you so much for coming on. It's crazy to us that both I'm from Andhra, Aniket is from Hyderabad in Telangana. We've met in US just because of the love of sport, and for us to be talking with you today here is kind of crazy. So, we cannot thank you enough for coming on.
Thank you very much.
And I would like to thank you. I've never had this opportunity, and it's once in a lifetime. So thank you for everything you've done for the country and everything you are doing for sport. Because I think we have a long way to go, and it is trailblazers like you who are taking us in that direction. So thank you for that. Greatly appreciate it.
So still, I'm trying to, encourage my next generation, my son, to go play football. So he's just 12 now. He's picking up, and he's in my residential academy. In fact, we've just shifted him to my football club, United Sikkim Football Academy in Siliguri. Yeah. So hopefully, I'm sure he can go on to become a good footballer. He loves it. He's got that passion. But yeah, it all depends on his hard work. So making sure that the next generation is also coming and contributing to the sport.
Oh, that's fantastic. And before we let you go, do you have any recommendations that you would like to give our listeners just to enrich their lives? Anything that you have in mind?
No, I think you should not stop playing sports. And if it's not, you don't need to become a professional footballer, but play a team sport that is going to teach you way of life. It's going to make you stronger as a person. It's going to teach you to be a team. It teaches you how to lose. It teaches you how to win. It makes you mentally strong. It makes you physically fit and healthy. Apart from that, you'd be a great team person. So any child that plays a team sport is bound to learn a lot of things in life when he grows up. So make sure you push your kids to play a team sport, which is basically, if you can push them to play football, would be great. And you don't necessarily need them to become professional footballers, but they'll live healthy life and they'll learn a lot uh, through football for their lives in future to come.
I don't play sports professionally, but I don't think truer words have been said because, like Gautam said, sports has given me a lot, and I love and enjoy it. So, yeah, no, thank you for that recommendation.
Yeah, with that we'll conclude this. Thanks to producer Lipi for producing this podcast, and Bhaichung, again, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
The subscription model is something that keeps Newslaundry afloat, but we need hundreds and thousands of people to completely transform the news ecosystem. So you pay for news, so it serves you. So click on the link with this video, subscribe to Newslaundry and pay to keep news free, और गर्व से कहो मेरे खर्च पर आज़ाद है खबरें.